Can you imagine inviting someone into your family, giving them everything, only to have them try to sue you for your life savings? We thought we knew betrayal, but nothing prepared us for the day her perfectly crafted lies unraveled, and the truth came crashing down. My husband, Robert, and I were 65 and 68 now, have always poured our hearts into our family. We raised our 3 children, Mark, Emily, and Josh, on bedrock principles: hard work, honesty, and family above all else. For decades, we scrimped and saved, building a modest nest egg not for ourselves, but to eventually pass down to them and to our 5 wonderful biological grandchildren. We truly believed in building a legacy of love and support. Mark, our eldest, had 2 beautiful children, Amy and Ben, with his ex-wife, Laura. Even after their divorce, which was amicable, Laura remained a cherished part of our lives. I loved her like my own daughter, and we admired how she and Mark always put their kids first. So, we were happy. Then, about 3 years ago, Mark met Sarah. She was a colleague, 38 years old, and a whirlwind of a woman. She'd been married 3 times before, bringing 6 children of her own into the picture, ranging from 4 to 16. It was a lot, a major adjustment, but Mark seemed happy, so we welcomed her and her children with open arms. Our motto has always been the more, the merrier, and we genuinely meant it. We included everyone in family gatherings, holidays, even those magical Disneyland trips we loved to take with the grandkids. When they needed a bigger house, we didn't hesitate to help financially. It felt like love, like support, like strengthening our family bonds. But that goodwill, well, it started to twist. Sarah, at first so grateful, began to show a deep curiosity about our finances. At first, it was subtle. Questions about our retirement plans, our future. We just assumed she cared. But then her comments grew more direct, more pointed. Passive-aggressive remarks about how all the grandchildren should be treated equally in our will. Robert and I tried to explain, gently, that while we loved her children and cared deeply for them, our resources were limited, and our priority had always been our biological grandchildren. These conversations never ended well, so eventually, we just stopped having them. Things truly spiraled when we decided to update our will. We called a family meeting: Mark, Sarah, Emily, and Josh. We even considered including Laura, but she politely declined, sensing Sarah might not appreciate her presence.
We respected that.
We laid out our plans. Our estate would be divided among our children, with specific funds earmarked for the education and future of Mark, Emily, and Josh's kids. Everyone seemed genuinely happy, even Emily, who told us not to worry about her. Then, Sarah, with a sweet, innocent smile, dropped the bomb. By Mark's kids, she asked, "You also mean my 6 children, right?" My heart sank. I'd seen this coming. I calmly, gently, reiterated that while we wished we could provide for them, our main priority was our biological children and grandchildren. Her reaction was explosive. She accused us of favoritism, of discrimination, even saying we were punishing her children for circumstances beyond their control. Mark tried to calm her, but it was clear he was torn, caught between his new wife and his own parents. The meeting ended in chaos, with Sarah storming out and Mark trailing behind, utterly defeated. The tension only escalated. For weeks, Sarah spread vicious rumors, painting us as greedy, unfair. She even told her own children that we didn't see them as part of the family, creating a toxic environment that strained our relationships with everyone. We even tried to offer solutions, suggesting Mark and Sarah make separate financial provisions for her children, offering to help them set up savings accounts. But Sarah was relentless. She insisted that all children, biological or not, deserved an equal share of our estate. And then it happened. One evening, a court summons arrived. Sarah was suing us. She demanded her children be included in our inheritance plans, claiming that by excluding them, we were causing them emotional distress and creating an unfair family dynamic. We were absolutely devastated. Never in our wildest dreams did we imagine our own daughter-in-law would drag us to court. The legal battle was excruciating. It drained us emotionally and financially. Sarah's legal team painted us as outdated, discriminatory, uncaring. It was humiliating, exhausting. This wasn't how Robert and I envisioned our retirement. We had no choice but to hire our own lawyer to defend ourselves. To make matters worse, our own extended family was torn apart. Some, swayed by Sarah's twisted stories that we isolated her kids, made them sit in another room, sided with her. I remember thinking if I heard that story from someone else, I'd probably believe we were evil too. Others, like Emily and Josh, stood by us, staunchly defending our right to distribute our assets as we saw fit. Family gatherings became battlegrounds. Through it all, we tried to maintain contact with all the grandchildren, but Sarah had poisoned their minds. She'd cancel visits last minute, invent excuses, even accuse us of favoring Amy and Ben right in front of her own kids. It was heartbreaking. Our lawyer, a true rock through this ordeal, meticulously reviewed the evidence. Initially, it felt like we were losing. Sarah had built a compelling narrative, portraying herself as the victim. The court seemed to lean her way, and we feared the worst. But our lawyer dug deeper into Sarah's past. She reached out to one of Sarah's ex-husbands, a routine check that turned into a bombshell. It turned out this ex was paying child support for 3 of Sarah's children. No one in the family knew. Sarah had always claimed she received no support from any of her ex-husbands, that she alone raised all 6 kids. We'd applauded her courage back then. Now we knew, but that wasn't the full picture. To our utter shock, it was revealed that Sarah had been receiving substantial child support payments from all 3 of her ex-husbands. More than enough to provide for her 6 children. She'd hidden it all, pretending to be financially strapped, making it seem like she needed our inheritance and Mark's support. This discovery was a game changer. Our lawyer compiled everything, presenting it to the court. The revelation was explosive. Sarah had actively misled the court, emotionally manipulating us all. The courtroom atmosphere shifted dramatically. The judge was visibly displeased. Sarah's claims of financial hardship were instantly called into question. The judge's questions became sharp, demanding answers she couldn't provide. Her facade as a struggling single mother crumbled. Her attempts to argue the payments weren't enough fell flat. The judge's frustration was palpable. As her credibility unraveled, the courtroom buzzed with whispers. Mark looked utterly devastated, his face a mask of pain as he realized his wife had hidden this from him, that he'd stood up for her against his own family, only to be betrayed. In the end, the court ruled decisively in our favor. Our right to distribute our assets was upheld. Sarah was ordered to compensate us for emotional distress and legal fees, and penalized for concealing her assets. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Sarah's face went white. Mark looked utterly defeated. As we left the courthouse, Sarah approached us, surrounded by all the children. Her aggressive, entitled demeanor was gone. She was suddenly tearful, wanting to settle things, suggesting we move forward as a family. She even pleaded that Mark and the kids couldn't handle the emotional distress. We were too stunned to respond. We just walked away. The verdict brought a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Our relationship with Mark was deeply strained. Sarah's sudden change of heart felt completely insincere after everything she'd put us through. Then, the morning after the verdict, Mark called. His voice was exhausted, heavy with regret. He asked to come over, just him. When he arrived, he looked like a ghost, disheveled, defeated. He collapsed into a chair and just sobbed. Robert and I just sat there, letting him release it all. When he finally spoke, it was an outpouring of apologies. He admitted he'd failed us, failed to stand up to Sarah, failed to protect us. He revealed she'd pressured him for months to change our will, twisting it into a matter of fairness, even threatening to leave him if he didn't support her in the lawsuit. He felt trapped, torn. He knew her demands were unreasonable, but he was powerless. He was afraid of losing his marriage, and in his desperation, he let her take the lead. It had been eating him alive. He told us this wasn't new. Sarah had a history of financial disputes with her ex-husbands. He'd seen the pattern, but brushed it off as a difficult past. Now he saw it for the blazing red flag it was. We talked for hours, offering love and reassurance, urging him to get counseling. Days later, Laura, Mark's first wife, called. Amy and Ben had told her about the court case. Laura, ever the steady presence, offered her support, thanking us for always being fair. She'd reassured the kids that this conflict didn't change our love for them. Her kindness was a balm to our weary hearts.
Sarah, though?
We hadn't heard from her directly, but through the grapevine, we learned she was spinning a new tale, portraying herself as a victim of our cruelty. Some relatives still believed her, but thankfully more and more people were seeing through her act. Just as we started to breathe a little, a new crisis emerged.
CPS.
Child Protective Services. At our doorstep, an anonymous report of emotional abuse and neglect of Sarah's children. Shocking, terrifying. We knew immediately who was behind it. We cooperated fully, explained the whole twisted story, showed them court documents. The worker, initially formal, softened, seeing it for what it was, malicious retribution. She found no evidence. But the accusation, the idea that someone would accuse us of harming children we'd tried to welcome, it was devastating. Later that afternoon, Mark called, frantic. He confirmed our suspicions. Sarah was behind it. She'd found out he'd visited us alone and flew into a rage, accusing him of betrayal, threatening to make us pay. He said she'd become increasingly erratic since the verdict, lashing out at him and the kids, clinging to her anger. Mark revealed he'd contacted a divorce lawyer. The CPS incident was the final straw. He couldn't live in fear of what she'd do next, couldn't let her use the children as pawns. He was soul-searching, finally seeing her true colors. We urged him to document everything, prioritize the children's well-being. We even installed security cameras at our house. The family remained divided, but the tide was truly turning. More relatives started seeing Sarah's actions for what they were, something far more malicious than a misunderstood daughter-in-law. Then, Mark finally made the difficult decision. He moved out of the house he shared with Sarah. He's staying with a friend now. This came after more shocking revelations. Sarah had secretly contacted Laura, Mark's ex, claiming Mark was drinking heavily and had become aggressive, warning Laura not to let Amy and Ben near him. Laura, thank God, saw right through the lies. She immediately informed Mark. Her support has been an absolute anchor. And Sarah didn't stop there. She contacted Emily and Josh, spreading lies that we didn't care about them, that all the inheritance was going to Mark. She twisted an overheard conversation, but Emily and Josh saw through her erratic behavior and confronted her. She abruptly ended the call. This latest betrayal was the final straw for Mark. He's filed for divorce. He's seeking full custody of Amy and Ben. He's working with his lawyer to address the false CPS report. The gravity of the situation has finally hit home for him, and he's determined to protect his children. Sarah, now facing the consequences, has tried to contact us. Multiple times, tearful voicemails, begging for another chance. We haven't responded. All communication is for legal purposes now. We've spent much-needed time with Amy and Ben, who are understandably shaken. They've started recalling how Sarah would compare their achievements to her own daughters, how she told them once that they were too reliant on their father. We're working with Mark to get them therapy. Their emotional well-being is our top priority. As for Sarah's children, our concern for them remains strong. Mark agrees, and is exploring ways to maintain a relationship, maybe supervised visits after the divorce. The extended family has largely rallied around us and Mark. Those who initially sided with Sarah have apologized after learning the full extent of her manipulations. We're slowly rebuilding those relationships. Through all this, we've learned a lot. While we don't regret our initial decision about our will, we recognize our communication could have been clearer. In light of everything, we've even decided to set up a small trust specifically for Sarah's children's education, separate from our main will. It's not substantial, but it's our way of showing that our issue was never with them. Our focus now is on healing. We're continuing family counseling, taking legal steps to protect ourselves from any further disruptions. Mark is making progress each day. The dust has finally begun to settle, but the scars remain. It's been a long, painful journey, but we stood firm for what was right, and now, we're finally seeing a path to healing for our broken family. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm still processing everything. Have you ever had to fight so hard for your family's truth? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.